Today in skills and drills, we're going to be doing alley shots from a midfielder's position, okay? So a couple things to understand about the alley shot. It's not the most ideal shot in the game, all right? Defenses are taught to push you down the alley because the percentages are lower, okay? So, but it doesn't mean that we can't utilize the alley shot to our advantage. A good friend of mine, Dave Huntley, before he passed, I remember just ranting and raving about the alley shot and about how it's one of the worst shots in the game. All right, so I agree with him. Percentage-wise, it absolutely is the case. But there are ways we can utilize it and utilize it to our advantage and develop the skills to make it better. All right, so as you'll notice here, we've got some cones set up. And this is a very basic controlled environment, okay? Typical midi might dodge down the midi, down the middle here, and go down the alley. But what we need to understand here when we're taking alley shots is the difference between turning and spinning. So Robert, you can actually drop the ball right now. So let's say Robert comes up to this cone and he splits left to right. As soon as he comes out of that dodge, hands are going to come out immediately. We want those hands out and ready to shoot or pass right out of the gate. Now the one thing is, this is sagging, this is not. All right, Robert is still protecting the ball with his body as his hands are out. Okay, so long as your body is between the defenseman and your stick, you're good. So as Robert starts to come down here, all right, we're going to get to approximately this cone. Now this cone right here is the key. All right, this first cone is key. Now we want to be turning around this cone and not spinning. What you often see athletes do is as they come through, they shoot, come through that shot, and they spin and they stay out, and they come out of that shot and they fade away, all right? But what we really want to be doing is turning our body towards the net. And the reason why a lot of athletes spin is because they get the sensation that they're adding more power when they're actually not, all right? So they're grinding their way through a shot, they're not actually stepping their way into a shot. So as we come through, Robert's going to take one more step, and then that left leg is going to trigger this shot, all right? One step back, Robert. So as he steps with this left leg, he's going to step in, toes going to be pointing towards the goal, shoulder and hips turn together. He comes through with that shot, and he can backpedal if he wants, or he can stay going straight. To me, it doesn't really matter so long as he turns around this cone and goes down towards the net. It maintains a rough overhand motion, all right? You can go 3/4 arm overhand, whatever the case is. The second cone here is designed to keep the athlete inside. All right, you'll notice I have it a little staggered. It's not lined up perfectly straight with this cone. It's a little out to the left, because if you line it up perfectly straight with that cone, you'll find it very difficult for players to actually turn inside that, because you want to promote a successful turn, but you want to keep it realistic. Not too often a player is going to actually be able to turn into the middle of the field all the way. All right, so we put the cone out just a little bit, all right, just to make sure it forces them at least straight down the side and not off fading away. All right, so hands up, Robert. As Robert comes down, he continues walking, steps with the left foot, snaps those hands, comes through, and the body is going towards the cage. Remember, left leg stimulates right arm if you're a righty, right leg stimulates left arm if you're a righty. All right, so we want to make sure we're going down the alley and we're stepping with the correct leg. All right, so Robert's going to do some demos on some shots here, and we'll talk about it as he goes. All right, off my go. You're going to split left to right off the cone. Robert's a righty, so we're going to keep it righty for now. All right, obviously everyone, we want them going lefty and righty when they're training. Ready? Go. Come down, split, hands out, turn. Good. All right, good shot. Boom. Good turn. Nice shot. Nicely done. Ready? Go. Now notice how Robert's back is square, everything's straight. He's coming down and his body looks the same every single time he shoots. Whether he's shooting low or high, there's not really much tendency there with his shoulder. His hands are guiding the ball, not the body. We'll do one more from up here. Ready? Go. Boom. Hands out. Good. So you notice Robert has a little bit of a 3/4 arm motion, which is totally fine. For this drill, we're not as worried about whether it's 3/4 arm or overhand. I like all of them. What we're worried about, or what we're mostly concerned about, is him turning through that shot. Good shot. Nicely done. Down the field, turn, good shot. All right, so these are alley shots. One thing to note as you're coming down the alley, we want the shot to come out of nowhere. So as Robert splits here, you notice that we kept him on his feet the entire time. Not once did he jump, and that's key. All right, I know a lot of people like to take jump shots, but again, when working with Dave Huntley, he showed me the stats on not only alley shots, but also jump shots. all right? And when we jump as a shooter, okay, what happens is we split left to right, we're coming down the alley. When we leave our feet, that's very problematic because you're not only telling the crowd, but you're telling the goalie that you're about to shoot. And we don't want to be letting, we don't want to send any indicators of a shot coming. We want a shot to come out of nowhere. We want that goalie to think we can do anything from this position, all right? As soon as we jump, very rarely do you see someone jump and pass. You jump, that goalie goes from here to back in position, ready to make a save. And you're telling the defenseman that you're shooting, and you're telling the goalie that you're shooting. Last point, when you jump, you're actually, when you tell a defenseman that you're shooting, they go from sliding to you to stopping and putting their stick up. So now you have two prepped barriers in the way when you jump. A defensive stick goes in the way, right, to stop a shot possibly, and the goalie gets down and ready. So make sure you keep your feet on the ground. When you have your feet on the ground, you're able to add more power, and the element of surprise is greater when you're shooting, all right? So go home, practice this, make sure you have the cone set up correctly, make sure you're turning perfectly every single time. It's not gonna happen perfectly every single time in a game, but if you get your body to understand the correct stimulus, the correct response to any situation, you're gonna get close to perfect as you possibly can.